Awesome. All right, well, it is my absolute honor to welcome to the stage the man, the myth, the legend. You know him from television, you know him from syndicated radio. He has an entire list of job titles. I wouldn't be surprised if he's an Olympic champion. Who knows? He's done anything and everything, and here he is in person, Mr. Matt Pinfield.
Thank you, Liz. Always good to see you. Hey, everybody, good morning. How are you? Coffee or tea or whatever it is, water, whatever gets you going in the morning. Well, welcome to Cafe Chonnye right here. And I'd like to introduce this amazing woman. You know her from doing, she does so many things, you know, I mean, on so many levels of creativity. And not only having been a major muse for Mr. Claudio Sanchez, but his wife, his partner, his best friend, and just an incredible woman who's so creative, and I'm just really proud and happy to call her my friend, and I love her very much. So right now, I'd like to introduce you to Chandra Eckhart Sanchez. Johnny, what's going on? And my chair was went off the back.
Not vomiting, so calling it a win. How are you guys doing? Everyone's like stable, feeling good. How did you
Johnny,
sleep?
what's going? I slept pretty good. You know, I sleep pretty good on boats. Better than I do on planes. I can't sleep on planes at all. I mean, I've traveled across from like LA to like Italy or Germany and never sleep a wink. It just sucks. But you know, it's one of those things. It's just my cross to bear. But it's all right. But it's beautiful on here, and it's just waking up and seeing the sunshine. I hit the gym this morning, and I'm happy to be here with you.
I'm happy to be here with you. You're doing it. I am not faring so well, but I'm excited for you, and I'm proud of you for going to the gym. I woke up with my like whole face of makeup on. Yeah, it's really good. Really good. Excited to be here.
It's amazing. You know, it's I mean, it's incredible. You know, the tie-in to everything that you've done and contributed to, and just the creative process, creative writing is what's always really interested me about, you know, because I've known how much you've inspired Claudio and what an effect that has had on the music, everything from the stories to, you know, like to the melodies. I mean, there's so much there in his love for you, and I've seen it. You know, I've seen the process with Claudio, but it's your process that we're very interested in hearing about this morning too. You know, all the different things, Kia Z, you know, Claudio, you know, I mean, Translucent, all that stuff. What was the thing that got you really interested in deciding that you wanted to become a storyteller as well and get involved? Because it's, for me, it's very interesting. You've done your own stories, but you're also getting involved in Emery Wars. Is a challenge when you come in. I mean, but because you're such a close part of everything that Claudio has done, it's pretty amazing. I've always felt that. So I wanted to kind of ask you about that. And I mean, talk to me about when you first started realizing that you wanted to not only, like, you know, you wanted to write and do poetry. When you realized the creative process of being able to express yourself through those forums, through those platforms, when you knew it was something that you really wanted to do.
Well,
I know it's a long question.
yeah.
and it's multi.
I'm gonna sip my coffee and consider that for a second.
Yeah.
So, I love to read. I think we talked about this the other day. I read all the time. And then I don't remember. People will be like, what's your favorite book? What do you recommend? And I'm like, completely blank. I don't know why. Does anybody else have that problem? I'm like, I feel, I'll forget the author's name.
You're right. People ask me, like, I mean, I can give you a list of some of my favorite albums. Certainly, Good Apollo, you guys know from watching me talk about it, is one of them. And there's many Coheed albums that I love dearly to my heart. But yeah, it's the same thing when people ask me my favorite artist or favorite song. I have favorite artists.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure it's hard for you.
It's really hard to break that down. I'm like, if you can name 5 songs, I'm like, 5 songs. You know, how many days do you have? You know what I mean? So like for you, is that because, I mean, when you're taking in and you're reading a book, you're kind of, your brain knows how to work in kind of processing what you really love and take from that. Is it one of those things, or is it kind of like it's just a journey as you?
I think I just love prose. I love words and I love language. The storytelling piece and like the bigger picture stuff, I've learned to kind of be okay at. But that's it's not really, I wasn't like, oh, I love stories and I love, I do love stories. I love movies, but I really love words. And so when I was a kid and I would choose books or, in college and high school, the things that I loved to read were things that books that felt beautiful. And I found myself being really like fascinated, and I still am, with the way that authors are able to kind of hone in on their style with time, and make the mundane just feel so profound. And it doesn't have to always be like beautiful in the traditional sense. We talk about Vonnegut a lot, or Chuck Palahniuk, writers that are it's like gritty and it's awful, but you just can't look away. I love that. I think figuring out structure is really fascinating. And I when Claudio and I first started working in comics, when he started working in comics, I remember reading scripts and being like I could do that. Like, this is so short, this is like mostly description and there's a one line of dialogue. And then we started doing it and I'm like, this is so hard. This is so hard because you don't have that cloak to hide behind. You don't have language, right? You're really, like, writing a comic script is writing in picture. And you're kind of directing a movie for the most part. So it's a totally different part of the brain. And I don't think that, I never realized how challenging that would be. But I love it. I think that's why we've done it for so long, because it is hard and it's fun, and it's something that I don't think that I'm great at. So I've tried to get better at. And the Amory Wars in particular, so hard to write because it's so dense, and you have to, it's more of an act of scaling back than actually writing. But I was also, we've said in the past, like, very afraid to work on that series for a number of reasons. I think it's hard to work on a series that's so important to people who already exist and have expectations. It's hard to work on a series where sometimes I'm like writing kind of loosely a character that could be me or my, but I think at this point, it's funny, we watched the show last night. I don't know if any of you got to catch the show yesterday. It was cool. It was our first time kind of seeing it come to life. And we, Blaze was really spearheading that project, and we were kind of watching the pieces come together pretty quickly. But that was the first time we've seen it, or like really, in that way. And it was wild. It was cool to see these characters that are so close to you, but they're not. Like, so much time has passed that they really all feel like characters now, instead of feeling like too close to home, if that makes sense.
Yes, it makes total sense. Yeah, that experience must have been, I was thinking about you and Claudio seeing that, and I asked Claudio about it too, and we'll talk to him about it when he gets out. We'll talk about process. But I was going to say that it must have been really wild to see that, when you see something come to fruition, acted out, and in another dimension, and using a different type of platform, but ultimately still doing storytelling. How beautiful was that experience?
It's so cool. It's similar to working in comics, because you know what you want things to look like, and you try your best to articulate, in the script, who people are, what the vibe is, what the planets look like, whatever, and then you get the art back, and you see a little bit of what you intended there, but it's completely new, right? And so it has this feeling of kind of slowly spiraling out of you, like away from you, which is nice. It's really, collaborating in that way is so cool, because you feel like you're just as surprised as other people. You get a panel back and you're like, oh my God, this isn't maybe exactly what I thought, but it's better. And so yesterday was really cool, because seeing somebody take this stuff that we've worked on for so long and turn it into something from their head, from like this different place of inspiration. Like, this is the choice I made. This is how I would interpret this scene. It was cool. I was like, wow, this is not, I just didn't see it happening in that way, but it was awesome to see it happen that way.
That's amazing. And for people to actually watch it with you guys, you know what I mean? Like,
that's terrifying. I was like, I need a cocktail after this. It was wild. It's so cool. And to hear the songs, it occurred to me that I've never like listened to somebody sing, aside from the Neverenders, shout out. I've never listened to Coheed songs with Claudio next to me. And it was like kind of
except
surreal.
that one time. Well, except when we were listening back to Good Apollo in my office.
Records, for sure.
You remember that? We had that couch in my office, and you guys were sitting on it, and I was sitting in a chair right by the desk because it wasn't like, we were just, but I was next to both of you, sitting right there, and that's when I remember hearing it through, fully mixed.
And that's always weird too, because you hear these records like, from my perspective, to hear them when I'm like sleeping in the morning, getting made down the hall, and it's like a vocal or an acoustic riff, and just the evolution of that is similar. Listening to the start of an album to when it's done, and hearing what the guys add to it. It's just so fucking cool. I actually wanted to, because after our chat the other day, somebody had stopped me and was like, hey, I want to talk more about like process and what does that look like for you? And so I thought, if you guys are into it, we are bringing Claudio Sanchez out to talk about our whatever the hell we do.
Yeah.
But I thought, the process of like poetry is so different because it's just like internal, and it's just like you put lines down and then you change those lines and then you whatever. So I have a poem that I started working on the plane. That's kind of a mess, but I thought maybe it's good to read it, and then you could be like, oh, this is where it started, and then like maybe in 6 months we'll see what it looks like. I don't know, would you guys be into that? It's very embarrassing, but I'm gonna do it. And it's kind of long, so settle in. It's in my notes app. Okay, it doesn't have there's no working title. Right. I have to get into my space. The clocks regressed on Sunday. Now the neighbors are fighting in darkness, and I'm lighting candles, falling before the bedroom window, ashamed to lose my balance even when I'm alone, to trip over corners of rugs creased under heels of house guests, or a rainbowed plank of wood, bowed with the indignity of old age. Unintentional, of course. The ruined rug and the shame, too. There's something cut out deep in me, gone AWOL, a bas-relief of a sensation, like a ghost lifted from the clay. Parallel to hunger, closer to starved. Maybe a stone's throw from God, but who could know? I can't stop thinking about the day that the house filled with cold water, and we only stared as it rose, sat on the stairs, sharing fruit, a thing with tough skin that ripped our fingertips, drops of blood smeared on the softest center, juice down the chin like honey to heart. And so what? The world is burning, always water and fire cradling us back to the beginning. You ask, how can we eat in times like these, when all we taste is iron? Has it always been like this, discerning the sweetness of flesh in each bite, the anarchy in simply choking it all down? Our stories seem more alive in slow motion, with their stained shirts and bare feet, filthy on the soul. Of course, there are things I'd rather not say out loud, thoughts too alloyed to expose to air, and it pains me to tell you, in spite of these still shots of other worlds developing over our heads, images shaking to be seen in low light, dragging us into the ink of a negative while we turn back our clocks to guarantee more and more and more night. I'm just terribly happy to be alive. Here with the leaves lifting to fire in time, with sticky saccharine hands, and a childhood too far behind to feel in my bones anymore. With cast iron confusion and fucked up furniture, and burning family trees. Yes, here with my grandmother's gaze, jade and ruby, fixed to the ceiling until sunrise. With my blood still a tide in each vessel, and messages I won't reply to, and the risks we vacillate between while building a nest with the final straw to break our backs. With death lacquering my coffin in the backyard, and my child humming harmonies at the high point of the Ferris wheel. With you and all this mess, the jolts of the tires on runway, the flash and the rush, the lie of safety and the certainty of love, with all of this.
Yeah, excellent. That was great.
So,
You know, it's amazing, listening to the descriptions in that. It paints such a vivid picture. I was taken by, of course, the corners of, like the corners of rugs and the idea of, house guests and, the feet. And
always messing something up.
And then the whole description of the drops of blood, it only tasting iron, like the taste of blood, because blood is so full of iron. Those descriptions really stood out for me, and I thought that was cool. It was great, but it paints such a vivid picture. And now I love that you are doing this retreat. A creative writing retreat, which is in Reykjavik, right? Or is it about a different part of Iceland?
So it's basically all of Iceland. We start in Reykjavik, and then we have like a charter that will take us all around. We'll see volcanoes. We'll do all kinds. I actually met a few people who are coming on the ship. It's going to be super fun. But it's not just creative writing. We tend to just focus on like finding passion for life. Because not everyone who goes is a writer or aspires to be a writer. How many of you are writers? I'm always curious. Let's flip this around. No, I don't think that, it's funny, we always talk about we talk about creativity all the time. It's so lame, like process, and do we talk about this too much? It's like, and it's how we make a living and our life. So obviously it's important to us, but I think it's important to everybody. You have to find moments in your life, in your boring, mundane days, to make life feel magical, or what's the point? So I think what I like about the retreats is that we go with a bunch of people, many of them we don't know, and you're experiencing a place you've never been, with people that you don't know. And there's something so inspiring about that to me. I took my mom to Ireland in June. I know her, so that was different. But I had read this, not a study, like people are like, oh, I wrote a podcast. I don't even remember what it was, but I read something. And it had said that we have fewer novel experiences the older we get, and that's why we have a hard time attaching to new music or liking new authors, or we're just so stuck in our ways because our neural pathways have formed so predictably, right? So they had suggested pairing an album, a new album, with a new experience. So take a walk, a place you've never walked before, and try to process new things. And it is awesome. So in Ireland, I only listened to bands that I've been wanting to get into, that I'm I'm not there yet. And it was sick. I have all of these new memories that are paired with these records, and Atlas does. We made a whole playlist.
That is so cool.
It was so cool. It worked. It really works. So I highly recommend that. If there's oh man, I always hear about this band. What's the band? Damn it. The Irish band that everybody loves. Yeah. Yep. DC.
Fontaine's DC.
Yeah. And I'm oh my God, I missed the boat on this, and now I'm on it.
That's great. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll just say this quickly that I had I was doing an interview with Bono and the Edge at their studio in Willow Lane.
I love that you're just hanging out with Bono.
Yeah, in 2000. And you know what? And it was the album All That You Can't Leave Behind, which the only thing people had heard at that time was Beautiful Day. And so they gave me a burned CD of it to walk this, and they were like, well, so you can listen to the album before you do the interview tomorrow. So that's exactly what I did. I walked the streets with a Discman. And because first of all, I'm half Irish, right? So I was that was something, and it was great, a great experience for me. I mean, eventually I hosted something and did some work at Slane Castle when Kings of Leon were there, and a bunch of bands, but, and I always loved Thin Lizzy and a lot of other Irish, obviously we always had that in common with all the Coheed guys. We loved Thin Lizzy so much. So there was a lot of, it was just a beautiful moment. But I do recommend that. It's great when you can go and walk somewhere or do something.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Actually,
it's not really conducive to LA, except for when I hike. but I do it with other people.
It has to be like intentional.
But
walking.
yeah, and it has to also be like, you know, where you can go out and not be distracted by like almost trying not to get hit by a car. And you know, no, but it's amazing. That must have been an incredible experience for you.
It was, and it's funny because you talk about U2. I am going to tell everybody in this room, I was not a U2 fan. I'm like, not a U2 fan, but I'm like, I don't know. There are some U2 songs that I'm into, and but I also still holding a grudge from when they made us have the record on our phone.
Look, I love those guys that worked with him on a bunch of stuff. I wasn't happy about that.
But I listened. I gave them another chance in Ireland. I was like, you know what? I have to let this go. And now I'm a U2 fan.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
yeah.
But I'm glad you got to do that and walk around. And it sounds like a great idea. And the whole thing about Reykjavik is amazing. And Iceland. Years ago, I went there for you'll get a kick out of this, Chandra, for a press thing. It was like literally the guy from the record company, now manages like Portugal the Man, but he was like, he worked for a label called 4AD. He's like, hey dude, I just want to bring cool friends of mine and cool people that are in music over here. So I went and saw this band called Gus Gus, who were like kind of friends with Bjork and the Sugar Cubes. And it was the dead of winter. And I will tell you that what really freaked me out, and I'll tell you this, is I was walking around town and I walked by the supermarkets. They leave the babies in the carriages outside the supermarkets, and they just bundle them up, right? It's January, right, guys? But like, I go to the guy from Reykjavik. I go, what are we gonna do with these babies? I was terrified. You know, I'm a father, right? So I'm like, and he goes, dude, there's no crime here. So that's literally what he said. I go, so what do you mean there's no crime? He goes, well, if something gets stolen or something weird goes on, they go knock on like one of two doors.
Just like the one criminal.
Yeah, like the one or two criminals. That's all in Reykjavik. It was the weirdest thing.
I mean, what a dream. Like, can you imagine? Guys, I just realized my zipper's been down this entire time, but I feel like I need two hands to do it, so I'm confessing because it's very obvious.
But I gotta tell you, this is just, I love that you're taking people away and doing that. I think it's gonna be great. You know,
yeah, I think we should bring
out this gentleman named Claudio Sanchez. Because we're making this a family thing right now, and I love this.
Hey!
Hello.
Nice to have you.
Yes. What are we talking about?
We are talking about the creative process. I'm going to ask you this, Claudio. Tell me when you knew and you were comfortable enough, because of obviously I know I've always I've been around long enough to know how much you two love each other and how much you love each other. When did you make that decision? Like, wow, I'm comfortable with having Chandra get involved with the creative process of the Emery Wars. Something I wanted to ask you that.
I really don't know. I think I've seen some of her writing. Maybe we started working on Kill Audio. I'm not entirely sure. It's just like, for me, I've always wanted like a partner in creating stuff, especially like, you know, a partner in everything. Like as a kid, I used to have this like strange, like Dean Markley, like it's a guitar string company.
Yeah.
I had this like picture on my wall in my high school bedroom, and it was like a guy with acoustic guitar and a girl sitting next to him, and like the country on the steps of like a dilapidated house, and like, and I'd always loved that idea of having that life, and then like watching like Perry and Casey do Gift and like all of those album covers, like Jane's Addiction stuff, like just finding like John and Yoko, like, you know, just these like this like relationship with someone that's both in love and creativity. And so when Chandra's writing became like, you know, on my radar, well, everything that she wrote just felt so natural and in a voice that I wish that I could produce quicker. You know, does that make any sense?
It does make sense.
But it's certainly in like in a literary form. It just felt it felt poetic to me, and you know, and I felt like this is the voice that the Amory War needs. I mean, of course, action and all of the beats of the story. You know, that's like I'm always thinking in that stuff. But like the way we glue that together is the language that people are reading out of those bubbles, and I think that that's where, you know, what I had like wanted to see done better, and I thought Chandra was great at that. You know?
And it's interesting because like it's like an effort to complement each other's writing style and then work together that way. It's amazing. The poem that she just read was so visual, and I loved it. I mean, I thought it was, and as a work in progress. And you also mentioned that it was at the pace that she writes, but you are constantly working on writing and stuff like that. But was there something that you saw in Chandra's in the ability to deliver and get this across in a certain amount of time? Was that something you were very that you loved or was envious of, or felt? Well, envious is the wrong word, but just thought was really like blew you away, and you were like, wow, this is really impressed is the word I think I'm looking for.
And
yeah.
Again, I think it's the poetic nature of her writing. Like, you know, for me, some of my favorite, you know, when we're talking like in the comic book medium, some of my favorites are the ones that don't read like comics. And it's, of course, like when that format is there, it's going to. But, you know, like, for example, watching the play yesterday and some of the communication that's taken off of those pages, the way they're delivered and in the pacing, just that's where it felt the most right to me. And I think like if it was wholly me, like putting the words in, you know, taking these song ideas and putting them into the voices of these characters, I'm not so sure it would have translated as well and as fluid like as it did in the play adaptation. You know, that was my favorite part of the play, is like hearing some of that dialogue come back and in a way that felt natural.
And sometimes we'll read it.
Because Chandra's
out loud.
slow as hell when it comes to deadlines.
No. Actually,
no.
I want to be very clear, and I'm sure there are many people in this room also with ADHD. I never miss a deadline. I just wait until it's coming very close.
That sounds like my life, actually.
And then I'm really fast. Well, I was gonna say, it's so funny because my best friend is here up there with her wife, and Rachel, calling you out. Rachel and Claudia were very similar in so many ways. And we always talk about how like over the years we've learned like what they need before it's a thing, right? Like you feel this like protective nature and wanting to like predict what somebody wants, right? Especially when, you know, have like a more introverted partner or child or whatever it is. And so I think we waited to work together for a long time. So then when we did start, I could already kind of predict, and I still try to, like, what's the closest thing to what he would want without compromising like my style. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
And so I do, like, we'll butt heads on things on occasion. But
that was my next question,
yeah,
right?
yes.
I wanted to ask you like
how does that go for you?
Plays out for you.
It's not never that like bad. I mean, it's you know, like there are moments where like, I mean, I'm gonna win the argument.
Yep. But then you know what my special trick is I'm like, okay, if that's what you think's right, this is your hill to die on.
But you know, that's the thing. Is I'm pretty, I say that in jest because I'm very flexible. Because it's like, I guess I'm really not. but no, if something is like speaks and is like, you know, if I have this sort of idea of what a translation of a song should be, and then, you know, something that Chandra tells me like feels
cheesy.
No, not cheesy necessarily, but like just is a good idea. Like I'm very, you know, I know a good idea
Yeah.
when it comes, and I don't mean that in like a conceited sort of way, but like, you know, even in songwriting, when I have an idea of what a record is, and like, you know, Travis is noodling in the kitchen area to the riff of Dark Side of Me, then I know and I hear it, and to me it speaks. I'm like, can you give me that for a second? Let me, like, I'm not shutting the door. Like, when good ideas come, like, they're good ideas, and I don't, and I really I recognize them.
Yeah, you are very, very flexible with
story
ideas, and we
side
do.
to-
You know.
Yeah, probably, and as you're saying, also the musical way. I mean, where when there's something that comes up, maybe like with Travis playing, or
Yeah.
Zach comes up with like something. There's something in the bass or in the rhythm, right? Or
Yeah.
Josh, I know that from Josh, because I know when he added in Welcome Home, like with the drum beat that came in
Yep.
when this change happens. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Before One Last Kiss from You, where he came in with that, like,
Yeah.
and you guys, literally kind of created that as you were recording and changed that
Yeah.
feel, or during those rehearsals.
And
I mentioned the rehearsals last night because I mentioned that rehearsal space that was like cut out in the woods in the snow. Remember that?
Yep, yeah, in Palinville, New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, it's funny because I opened up, I did the demo of that song on this old digital Roland
four-track
multi-track
thing,
thing.
right?
Yeah, and I opened it up to listen to it, and you can find it. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube as well, like the demo version. And yeah, the original bridge was just straight. It didn't have the vibe it does now, and of course, it's like that's a great idea. Like, why would I shut? Of course, I'm creating all the time, and I have this idea of what I think is the right thing. But when something comes into my periphery that like speaks, and I really feel it inside me, like, I'm gonna open the door to the idea. Of course.
That was a beautiful example
Yeah.
of that in Welcome Home.
And there really are so very few things too. Honestly, we've been doing this together now for so long that our ideas are now just more innately similar.
Yes.
Right? We generally will brainstorm so much on something before that it's like by the time the writing process begins, we kind of know where we're going.
You have
really
the narrative arc. You have,
Yeah.
or at least a good percentage of it, right?
Yeah.
Somewhat. I mean, when we're going into a record, it's never, it's like material is always being written, and then time and experience is really what informs the story. So it's like we have essentially, and I think everybody's probably heard me say this a lot, is that we always get a sense of where we're supposed to go. We just don't know the path to get there, and time and experience is really what dictates how we do it. So for example, like Father of Make Believe, watching my uncle pass away of like pancreatic cancer was a big part of that. Like, what is life going to be like if I wasn't here, or if Chandra wasn't here? How would my son have to live without it's just those sorts of things become, the nucleus of whatever the theme of the record is musically, and then whatever the theme is that we translate into the story. And a big part of it is like, when I think of Father of Make Believe, for example, I think of like, we're sort of coming to the end of the story. Like, what does a future with this band look like? And, and then I start to see myself in other characters, whereas initially I'm like, oh, where am I going with this? I'm sorry if I'm going all over.
No, I just started to giggle for a second in that because yesterday the one thing during the show that I remembered, and when we were working on the adaptation for Good Apollo, is that the doctor, Payon,
Oh yeah,
is my gynecologist. And I was like, oh, I forgot that I
You saw it like
I was
acted out
like,
right there.
Okay, maybe that could have been a different choice.
Well, yeah,
It was great to see that, right? Guys, I mean,
Oh, it was so awesome.
I know that because it's one of those things. It is because it comes from the Emery Wars and your story, in the story, and it's being adapted, and other people are performing it, and you're seeing, their interpretation, and Chandra as well as the stuff that you have worked on with that, since you're part of it and have been a part of it. Tell me what that felt like. I mean, you and I talked about this last night backstage before the show, because I just was really curious. I'm like, how did you feel watching that? being turned into a play and being acted out. And I also said, if it wasn't good, it was going to be a tough like thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, holy shit. How do you, so it's one of those things, but it probably wouldn't have gotten that far. Tell me about, Chandra, how you felt when you saw it. And
Well, it's always like you don't know what you're gonna really walk into sometimes, and I'm like, okay, this is cool because we're here with all of our friends and all of our boat friends. So it was scary as hell because you're like, well, now if this is not good, now you have to face each other.
Claudio, how much were you guys involved in the actual, the story? How much did they were they doing themselves, the people that put it together? Like, how much involvement did you have in the final story, in the final performance?
Well, so they didn't have a whole lot of time to put this together. Maybe a few months. I'm not entirely sure. But so when the idea was brought to my attention,
and Blaze was thinking about it.
Yeah, Blaze definitely. Blaze has been wanting to do this for quite some time. And so I realized I had to take a step back because I was going to be its worst critic. It wouldn't have but you know what I mean. It wouldn't have happened if I was a part of it. So I had to really let go. Because I have never envisioned, with the exception of Father of Make Believe, like I have never envisioned any of this as a musical. So right off the bat, when that sort of idea gets brought to my attention, I get a little cringed out. But the thing is like, I like musicals. I would love to write one. Father of Make Believe in my mind feels like it could be one outside of the concept in its own sort of way. But it's very much like Good Apollo. The more I watched it, because I watched it twice yesterday. I watched it in the dress rehearsal, and then I watched it as it debuted. And I very, very much see like a parallel between what we saw last night and what could potentially happen with Father of Make Believe. But to answer your question, I kind of was hands off. So I would get little dress rehearsal videos, questions of like what things were pronounced as. For example, like a pity prime, I pronounce it a pity prime, whereas the Inferno character in the play was Appity. And Blaze was like, oh, well, what do you think? Should he? I was like, some people are going to call things or going to pronounce things differently. Let him have that. I mean, I don't want to like nitpick like every little detail. I mean, I saw the puppet for 10 Speed, which I was like very much thrilled
It was like my favorite.
About.
I love it.
Yeah, of course. I was like, wow, that was the thing. It's like when we were brought two different troops, like I think one that has been aboard on the ship before, and this was a small production team that's done like some other stuff in Miami, like Disney adaptations and things like that. And when I saw that puppeteering was a part of their formula, that's what was the most interesting to me. So that's why we chose this company to do it, because I was like, oh, like how would you do a 10 Speed? And when I started to see their models, I was like, oh, this could be cool. This could be on like some Labyrinth shit, But anyway, I was hands off, saw some things, watched the dress rehearsal, and at the dress rehearsal, I was crying. And because it's like, I think, especially in that opening scene when they have the riddle, right? The riddle is like the first thing I think I ever wrote. I never aspired to be, I loved science fiction, storytelling. I kind of just became creative because, like, it was never like, one day I'm gonna be a creative motherfucker. Like, and I think with the fact that we talk about creativity is like really like helping us like understand what the fuck it is we do. You know what I mean? Because like, it just became, and like, when I, out of necessity, like constructing the concept as a shield to allow me to be as honest as I possibly could in the songs, it's like, I don't know, to me, watching them recite the riddle was like, it was just so like, I don't know, it was very touching to me because it was the first thing I had ever written as this person that was going to go off and write this crazy stuff. You know what I mean? But I loved it. I was blown away. It was far beyond what I had expected or anticipated, and you know, and it just got me like thinking like, well, maybe it could play out like this. I don't know, you know, but I did. I enjoyed it, and you know, it was crazy. I thought it was fun. There was funny moments.
There were moments
like,
I was like, I didn't think that was funny. I didn't think that was going to be funny, and that, whoa.
but here, can I just like set the record? Wake Up is not written to be that. Like that was never my ever. Clearly, I took a step away from this, but I thought that was so great. I think Blaze was saying he was thinking of taking it out. You know, as crazy and as insane as that moment is, I very much enjoyed it.
I cannot wait
I can
to
never
see
see that part
Oh,
again.
you haven't seen it?
Yeah.
You
Oh, no, I'm going
yesterday.
today.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go today too.
Yeah, which would be great. It's time for our questions for Chandra and Clodagh. And so for Chandra, so could you get our first person and tell us their name and where they are from? So this would be great, and we're gonna get some questions.
Sure. Hi, Claudio. Hi, Sean. I'm Brian. I'm from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Have you ever thought about doing a movie? Sorry. I get that question 10,000 times. It's a joke. Going back to what you were just talking about, like the whole past 20 minutes, thinking about the process and seeing what you came up with, what the team came up with yesterday, they're coming off of two variations of physical media of Good Apollo. Looking at what now a performance version of that is, how much have you thought about, in your process, the retconning of stories, especially with Chonnye, what you said, you're further away from the emotions of that moment. How do you look back at these characters and say, man, I know you mentioned Sizer, man, I really wish if the emotions weren't there in that physical moment, where could these characters or storylines have gone? How often do you think about that?
Well, it definitely happens because, you know, like, you're talking about retconning things, and like, you know, it happens all the time because when I'm, you know, we kind of have to do it because every time I write a record, one of the things, again, we weren't creative people from the jump. Like creative people, yes, but not like, oh, I'm writing all this stuff down. We never created like a Bible where we understand all the motives of all the characters. It's just like, what is happening right now in my life is going to somehow fuel these characters, and there's definitely holes that happen that when we go back and we adapt certain things, we have to, like, you know, fill in some of the blanks. Am I answering the question properly, Brian? Yeah. You know, like yesterday, they only had so much time to put that story in this adaptation, so they took some liberties, and I thought they made some good choices. You know, certain characters didn't get their time, but had we had the time to do it, they probably would have included them. You know,
There's also like there were limitations I think at the beginning that maybe we don't face as much. You know, making comics is expensive, and when you're putting stuff out on your own, which I think like when Claude was a wee babe, putting things out and trying to like make this happen, it's like you can't have a 30 issue, you know, series, and so I think a lot of characters maybe didn't get the treatment that they deserve. That doesn't mean that the storyline for them doesn't exist. It just hasn't been written yet. And so I look forward. We're actually
yeah. So we haven't like completely announced it, but we are doing novelizations of the subsequent Amory Wars. So we'll start with we'll eventually start with the re-release of Year of the Black Rainbow and put that out. So we're just talking with our co-author Kevin J. Anderson about, you know, we're just going through Second Stage Turbine Blade and like just the entire story arc and just finding where the holes are, what are the things we can improve upon, and, you know, sort of those sorts of things. So there's going to be a lot of that. I mean, one of the big things that gets questioned is the murder, the children's murder. You know, it's like how can we make this digestible? Because that's the big thing. Everybody always asks, like, when are you going to make the movie? I mean, I think that's the hurdle, certainly with Amory Wars, is like, people have a hard time consuming the idea of these heroes doing this sort of act of violence. But I think the problem is we always go forth with Second Stage as the first story, and it's not. We don't ever really see Coheed and Cambria in that heroic form. You know, if we went with Year of the Black Rainbow, give them their day in the sun, and then, you know, feed a little bit more believable stuff into their background to making them doing those atrocities, I think that, you know, because they don't become the main characters after Second Stage Turbine Blade. You know what I mean? It's like, so we always like kind of focus on them as the main characters, but it's not. It's about this kid that's trying to figure out his place in the universe against a prophecy that's telling him, like, this is who you are. And he's like, I don't really want to be that, you know?
And it's hard with them because when you start at Second Stage, they feel so human, and that's sort of the point, but they're not. And, you know, and it's like, we build them through the years as being heroes. They're likable, they're lovable, they're doing the best with what they've been given, but, like, they were still built to fuck up the world. And, you know, and like they're not always in control of themselves. And so I think that's why, like, this act is not ideal, but it doesn't have to kill it.
I don't mean to cut you guys off, but how many of you have read No World for Tomorrow? Woo! Okay, there's a few. Oh, right. So for those of you that have, and I'm going to spoil this for y'all because it's your fault that you didn't read it. But, like, how many of you were excited to see them return in the way that they did? It's cool, right? I thought that. I've been sitting on that for so long. I was so excited for that to finally
I think Gina
happen.
was the most excited.
It's amazing.
What?
All right, well, you know, so we'll take another question. But Claudio, I was just remembering, just sitting next to you being interviewed in Germany. We were there, and the guy going, "Why you kill babies in this song?"
Why did they do it in the Bible?
Exactly. That's what I said, remember? I mean, I know it's like that was interview number like 100 of 70,000, but you know what I mean? But I remember sitting next to you and the guy asking you that question. And I was just like, what? It was unbelievable. They took it literally? Yeah, he took it literally. We were dying. Okay, we're going to get to another question right now. What's your name and where are you from?
Hey, Rob Lewis. I'm from Seattle, Washington. Thank you, guys. Yep. It's funny that we're talking about the Black Rainbow because the base for my question is in that novel. That completely changed Pearl of the Stars for me. When I read that bit of that novel, that song completely shifted and changed what it meant. And so I'm curious, Claudio, feel free to weigh in. My question is more so for Chandra, as a fan of the tunes, if there's any writing that you've participated in that changed what the song meant for you.
Yeah, changed with what?
That changed what the song meant for you.
Oh, it's funny because when I hear, you know, I think like any of you, this is just a unique scenario because he happens to be my husband, but like when you hear a song, you hear a love song, you immediately, like, it's about you, right? Every single one. You're like, this is my life, this person wrote this for me and my relationship, and it's very specific. And so, yeah, so I listen to every Coheed song and it feels like, oh, like I can see myself and, you know, it's a love song. And so then working on the other end of it is really cool because it gets to have like, it gets to have a second life, and it gets to like widen and densify the idea of love for me, right? So we get to play all of these different roles and put ourselves in different relationships. And Pearl and Leonard, you know, their relationship's very different. You're from ours. They're scientists. They're super analytical. You know, they lose a son. It's a totally different love story, and I really like being able to put myself in, try on lives. That's the coolest part about being a writer, is just like trying things on, you know? So yeah, it definitely changes the song for me, but never when I listen to it, if that makes sense.
Great question, though.
I mean, last night, Wake Up was,
That changed the song.
Like I want to say, that when we wrote the song was not,
We
that
will
was
not be taking our son to that musical. And I wish I didn't teach him how to read at this
I
point.
can't wait to see that. Hey, we got the next question. Hey, what's your name and where are you from?
My name is Brandon. I'm from Los Angeles, California. Quick question. So, yesterday the play was amazing. How was it seeing someone else sing your music, and also how different people were singing the parts? Right, there was Claudio, and then Amberlina, and everybody's playing singing those songs. How did that feel for you to hear that from your perspective, being the writer and composer of everything?
I loved it. I mean, for me, I think it's always about how the song is being used, because again, I had nothing to do with the song choice, like and the way the it works into the scenes. So for me, the thing that I was really focusing on is how the language worked with the narrative. Like, does it work? As it, like for example, when when I think of Mother May I, like when I wrote Mother May I, it was almost more about like a song to the characters. Like the world is coming to your end, and when I say things like "I'll turn your mother on," it's like I'm really sort of talking about the muse that's like informing some of these things that are the mother of the story. So for me it was like okay, well, how does this really fit now being like translated into this moment that's being played out? So that's the thing I really kind of focused on, less than the way people were performing the songs. I mean, I love the idea of a musical. I mean, I always tell the guys, I'm like, it would be so cool if we had one, because I always bring this one up. For a while I was working on an adaptation of Dorian Gray, and I used to, we used to think about like, oh, what if we could be the nucleus of the band at those performances, like with like whatever orchestra around us, and we just sat and did a residency as like just the rock band portion of it. So I love that someone else is singing the thing. It's just, but for me, it's like as a creator of the thing, I'm like, I just want to know that the language is working, because I know that at those points in my life, I was still not as clear as maybe some of the later Coheed records are about what I'm saying, because I was very apprehensive about, still at that time, about putting myself out there.
But I think that's the strength, if I'm being honest. I feel like anybody can have clarity. I don't know that that's, I think lyrically that's what makes it so interesting, is that it is so vague, and like word choices that are not common, and it feels unique because it's mystical. But I really liked the suffering. I thought the suffering worked really well yesterday.
Cool. Right on.
Yeah.
We have another question? And what's your name and where are you from?
My name's Tanner, and I'm from Superior, Wisconsin. One person. All right.
That's great.
I have a small two-part question for you. Number one, what is your favorite song you ever wrote of yours? And number two, as a guitar player who can't chew gum and walk at the same time, what type of practices do you do to be able to sing and play so articulately at the same time?
Right. Okay. So I'll answer the second question first. For me, I mean, I was a guitar player first, so it's important to me to be that. Usually, whatever I'm playing will inform the melody. So because I already know what the foundation is. The stuff that's kind of coming out, it just works with what I'm playing in my mind. So it's like, I think it's not so much that the parts are connected typically, if that makes any sense. They're growing together. So that's what I think makes it so, makes it easier for me. I mean, they're coming from me. It's not like, I'm sure it would be a little more difficult if somebody came with two parts, like, hey, you're gonna sing this and you're gonna play this at the same time, that it's not coming from me, so it would probably be a challenge. So that's that. And then the other question was,
Favorite song of yours?
Okay, so I have a lot of favorite songs, but I think the one I bring up a lot is Gravity's Union. And for multi reasons. Like, at that time when I wrote the song, Josh wasn't in the band. And when I wrote it, and I probably told this story before, so I'm sorry. But it was like early in the morning, we lived in the country, and my office was facing like this cornfield. And the way it would collect sun in the morning, it was super beautiful. So like I work in the morning, it's dark and the sun's sort of coming up, and I listen to this arrangement for the first time without drums. It's just, the guitars and vocals and harmonies and whatever little other nuance, and I'm just playing like air drums super hard. And I start crying because the song is really touching to me, like for some reason. I think there's something in the tonality, of course, like the idea of someone passing, like in a car accident. I had an uncle that died in a car accident when I was super young, and it was something that was always like in the periphery of like family talk. Like it would come up every once in a while, and I think it kind of had something to do with my fear of driving with passengers, and so, so anyway, so I'm doing it, and I'm crying, and I'm like, I cry a lot. It's fucked up. But I just thought this song would be great with Josh on it, and that was like one of the initial indications of like, I'm gonna see if he's okay to come back, and that's, I think, one of the reasons that song is very special to me. Outside of course, my personal experiences, but like, it's like the turning point of of the band, I think. So.
Is there one more question? Or
We have time for one more.
oh, say that again?
We have time for one more.
Okay, great. And what's your name and where
Oh,
you
it's
from?
Gina from the prom.
Gina from the prom. So this is a quick one, okay?
Take
Since we're
you
all
to the
here,
prom.
thank you. I'll thank you. So since we're all here with our friends, I thought I'd ask, if you were stranded on a desert island, Chandra and Claudia, which 5 of the characters that you've ever created would you take with you?
Which 5?
Which 5? Except for Dr.
so
Payon.
specific.
Dr. Payon's out.
We need a doctor. We definitely need a doctor scientist. Let's pick our team.
Initially, I just thought of the ladies. I was like, I'm just bringing the ladies. I wasn't thinking about like.
I'm not
living
going to
very
that
much.
island. I know what happens to the ladies in this story. I'm taking Ambelina because she's gonna fly me the hell out of it. Well, no, she has no wings. Pre-wing burn. No, or maybe I'll take her sister. That's fine. I'm taking Vaxis. Blindside can come. Apollo. Oh, we need a dog.
Wait, but really, like, are we trying to survive? What are we doing?
In my scenario, I'm taking my dog and my kid, and I'm getting the hell out of there on the wings of the prize.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Is if you want, you could take. If we're trying to survive, I would take like Paranoia. I would take prize members and see if maybe they can fly us off the
In
island.
your scenario, you're gonna live on an island without an umbrella and sunscreen?
No, but that's what I mean. It's like, I don't know. I was just thinking, like, if I'm gonna escape, I'm taking prize money. If I'm staying, I'm gonna turn it into like
like
debaucherous.
What's the
like
movie we watched? We were talking
I mean,
about.
they're all after you, so don't get upset.
Just the idea of you being on an island is the part that's crushing me. I'm getting the hell out of there. I don't want the heat. No, I'm taking the dog, I'm taking the prize, I'm taking the kid, I'm taking Blindside because he's a good time. And I'm taking, I need one more. Oh, Chase. Yeah, I'm taking Chase. But then I have 2 kids. That's too much for me.
Oh, I'm taking.
She's not, I know
I'm taking
an
the
adult.
willing well. That's what, because that is a character in itself, and it can will whatever existence I want. So I'll take that. Great.
This was a long ride.
That was amazing. Are we out of time? I'm just curious. Is that it for us? Okay, great. Well, listen, everybody, please, let's hear it for Chandra. This morning for comedy.
You didn't know you were signing up for such a good time this morning, did you?
It's always a good time. When I'm hanging with you guys, it's the best. You know that. You guys are my family.
I just want to make a quick announcement that I think that there is a blackjack competition in the casino, and I'm going there, and everyone should come.
Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the day on SS Neverender. We love you, and thank you so much for spending your morning with us.